Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of the 1871 podcast. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that our very special guest for tonight's episode is Reading's all-time top appearance maker and a proper Reading FC legend. It's Martin Hicks. And then just a reminder that on tomorrow's episode, our guest will be Royals goal-scoring legend Trevor Senior. So we'll get straight into this episode. Martin, absolutely fantastic for you to join us again. You were on Series 1, so welcome back for your second appearance on the 1871 podcast.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
And as I say, Martin, an absolute pleasure for you to be a guest, Reading's all-time top appearance maker. We spoke last time about your time at Reading and some of your memories, and we want to do that again on this episode. But if I can start, obviously, big game coming up for Reading on Thursday, even though they're not even playing. They could be relegated. What's your take, Martin, on the current situation at Reading, and do you think it looks like the drop to League One is inevitable now, or are you still holding out hope?
You've always got to have hope, but it's on a fine string now. I think, to be honest, I went down a couple of weeks ago to the Reading Birmingham game on the Thursday, and that was a draw in the end, and probably looking at the game, probably a fair draw in the end. But it's slightly annoying because yes, they've lost the 6 points for whatever that may be. I mean, I'm not sure what that is or legal jargon, but it's really sad that it hurts the players, and it hurts, most of all, it hurts the fans. And you think, how unfair is that, really? Yes, the club have done something wrong. We all appreciate that. If that's the case, that's the case. But surely there's got to be a different way of punishing the club without punishing the fans. It looks like they're going to go down. If they do, it's we all know it's a long journey back. It really is. There's no given next year that you're going to be in the top two again. It's so hard. So yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, Martin, I think if we try and put some sort of positive spin on this, obviously, you've got experience of playing for Reading over many years, and there's some successful times in that. And a lot of the newer Reading fans, they used to, seeing Reading in the Championship and in the Premier League. But of course, going back many years during your time, it was Division 4, Division 3, getting promoted from what is now, League 2, League 1. And wherever your club are, whether it's in the Premier League or League 2 or whatever it might be, all the fans love a team that's winning and getting promotion and winning cups and all that sort of thing. So one theory is that if we go down to League 1, okay, we might not bounce back straight away. It might take a few years, but then we might have a reset and bounce back eventually and gain a bit of momentum. What's that feeling like? Because you've been involved in the talk about the Simod Cup final at Wembley, promotion, the record-breaking Royals. That fantastic season when Reading broke the record for longest time without conceding a goal, and those are kind of the real special memories for Reading. So I suppose in a roundabout way, I'm asking you that even if the inevitable, well, possibly inevitable happens and Reading go down to League 1, it's obviously devastating to start with, but we hope that in future years to come, we're going to see more success. Is that kind of a good philosophy, do you think, Martin, based on
Yes,
your
yeah,
experience?
I think you've got it right. From the players' point of view, if we look at that first, I think they won't realise they're probably not realising now. The next game, the next game, the next game. They even 10 games ago when it was they weren't doing so well. You just think it's never going to happen. You really do, and I don't know how else I could explain it. You can see it and you understand that you're at the bottom of the league or towards the bottom, but you just don't. It doesn't sink in. And when it will sink in, unfortunately, will be in the middle of their summer holidays, when they're sat somewhere and the new fixtures come out, and they'll be looking and go, "Oh my God, you know, we're not where we were last year. Look who we got to play. Look where we got to travel to. Um, this is not going to be good. And then the reality. But like you say, looking positively on that, then if the team stays together, if the good players, they're all good players, but if the very, very good players stay and they can keep the squad together, there is no reason why you wouldn't see blue skies ahead next year and thinking, like you say, fans love a winning side, and there's no reason why you get a good start. You could put 10, 15 games together and be at the top of the league, which is what you hope for. But as I say, it's not a given, but the league is obviously, common sense would say, slightly weaker than the one they're in at the moment. And you would think, well, you know, turn a forecast and hopefully they would get the confidence back again and start winning games. And then suddenly you're going to get crowds singing and dancing behind you, and you never know what's possible, really.
Yeah, and I think one of the big differences these days to your time at Reading is that there seemed to be a lot more loyalty. I mean, you made I'm talking about players to clubs and having that affinity with a particular club. I mean, you made more than 600 appearances, and you played with other players like Steve Richardson, who, you know, he made a lot of appearances over a number of years, and you that was more prevalent back then, wasn't it? And obviously things have changed now, and the chances are that the Reading team next season, if Reading go down, is not going to look the same. So, do you think that has an adverse impact on teams these days?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I don't think the game's different. I mean, you're talking of a long, long time ago when somebody getting a move from a club was a big thing, probably quite a difficult thing at the time. You had to play particularly well for weeks and weeks and weeks, or like maybe like Trevor did, like score lots of goals, got yourself noticed. But you know, there were sort of small moves. But I don't think, and I think people were different. I think players were different. I think we had a family group who you just loved going to work. You loved the football, the supporters, everything about the place. It just you were just there. And if you signed, I mean, again in our days, you know, people said, "Oh, renew your contract." You were lucky to get 12 months. If you got a 2-year contract, it was like, "Oh, well done, you're great. I've got 2 years." You know, I mean, these people today, it's 5 and 6 year contracts. Um, but they're not, and there were no agents. We had no agents. I think there was a couple about, but you know, only the big players had agents. But you did it all yourself. We were just, it was so different. You can't explain to somebody how different it is. So these agents nowadays, and you know, I know a lot of good agents and I know a lot of bad agents, but you know, they've got to make money. So how are you going to make money? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's get so-and-so out of Reading and we can get him a move to so-and-so. Whether he wanted to go or not, you know, obviously if it's a better club, then obviously he'd probably go and earn more money. That wasn't like that in our day. You know, you didn't have that opportunity. You didn't have agents knocking on your door or pushing you and saying, "Oh, I could get you a move to so-and-so," like they do today. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's everybody's choice. But yeah, it is vastly different. And as you say, you can't see, if they go down, you cannot see the same side staying particularly for too long.
Yeah, Dylan, I want to bring you in now. What do you want to ask Martin? Because obviously you were at Reading not that long after Martin left, really. You know, wasn't much of a gap, but it was by then Reading had started to, you know, change, hadn't it, from back in the 80s and the 70s, going back further. What do you want to ask Martin, Dylan?
No, no, I'm just going to, back what he's just said about agents, and you were judged on, your playing ability. You weren't judged on agents wanting to sell you to make money because the player was on form and he was having a great season, or was scoring goals, or he was the goalkeeper that was, saving things. It is different now, Martin. From when I joined Reading, I had an agent, and he's one of the first. There was a couple of Leeds agents that got really friendly, set up an agency. Leslie Harrison, Aidan Evans, and I'll be honest, I loved both of them, but they didn't have my interest at heart. you know, they made money from me joining Reading, you know, from the football club. It wasn't about me. It was just like you say, it's what they wanted to do. And when you played, you were poached by a team. You were poached by a coach or an assistant manager or a reserve team manager or somebody that you knew that said, "Hang on, you know, we fancy you. We like what you do, and you know, would you come and join us?" And now, as you said, these players are earning so much money on 3, 4, 5 year contracts, as you said, that agents, you know, convince chairman because they've got all this money. They've got the parachute payments from the Premier League if they go down. If it is true that Alf Angle, whatever his name is, Ireland or whatever his name, not Alf, what's he called? The striker at Man City is on 900,000. Yeah, Ireland. I'm thinking his dad. He's on £900,000 a week. Oh my God! I mean, that's that's obscene, and probably on his contract he's only on 200,000 a week, so he beats the tax man. But we, when you played, when I played, we played for the love of the game. And like you said, we played for the fans. We played because we were given the opportunity to do something that we loved. We were lucky. We were lucky. We'd worked hard to get that look, and now it just seems, when I look at the Chelsea squad and look at the players that are not even on the bench, that are in the stand, earning stupid amounts of money, probably complaining and moaning and whinging, because when you don't play, you always blame the manager, you always blame your teammate. I used to blame Tony DeRigo every Saturday, because I couldn't get in the Leeds team. Gary Speed, I hated Gary Speed. I loved him, but I couldn't get in the team because Gary Speed was a breath of fresh air for Leeds. And you do get jealous, you do get envious because you want to play. Now you can sit in the stand knowing that you're going to get 150 grand a week, knowing that you're going to go to train and go home and know that maybe the manager doesn't like you, but he signed you. I just think, you're right. I think what you said, Martin, was 100% right.
Yeah, I think I also I say, and I've been very lucky over the last unlucky, but also unlucky because everybody's had COVID for the last 2.5 years. But while it was working, I actually worked through COVID, where most people didn't, and I went to football clubs, which was fantastic for me. I absolutely loved it. But obviously on the negative side, COVID. But going to see them first teams train regularly every day, and all the Premier League sides, and it was just an insight of a different world. It was unreal. But the one thing I picked up on more than anything, there's very, very few players, genuine players, who I actually believe that if somebody took all the money away tomorrow night and said just £1,000 a week, now that's it, £1,000 a week, how many of them would turn up next Monday for training? And I don't think I came across too many out of all the clubs I went to. There were a few, but not too many who would actually turn up. And that's very sad thing. And if we did that again in our day, you'd have 99.9% of the players turn up. And that, I think,
Agreed.
is the difference. And it's a massive statement, but I actually believe that from what I've seen for the last 2.5 years, they are so different and so in a different world. They don't understand what life is about in a way. They don't.
No, agreed, Martin. And I'll give you. And listen, my team's next door, so I don't want to speak too loud because we've got a big game tomorrow. But we've just qualified for the semi-finals of the Europa League, right?
Right.
The first time in history that this club's been in the competition, but not only being in it, we're actually in the semi-finals. We're one game away from the final. The chairman has just given them a bonus, and it's scary. The chairman has just given them a bonus of $150 for getting to the quarterfinals. It makes, I think, $4.5 million for getting to the semi-final, and he's given them $150. Now, but my point is, right? They want half. They want 2.5 million of this. That's what they want.
Yeah.
they're not bothered about the chairman's financial obligations. It's cost the chairman more than 4 point whatever million to get us into the semi-finals.
No.
They don't see that. They don't see that. Now, we've had players go on strike and not turn up for training because they've not been given a bonus for winning a league game. We've got the fuck all of all games tomorrow. Sorry for swearing, but we've got the most amazing cup final ever. Because if we win tomorrow, we're safe from relegation. Now, as I said to the players, stop expecting a bonus. Stop asking for a bonus. If the chairman wants to give you a bonus, that's fine. But I totally agree with what you said there. If I deal with this every single week.
Yeah.
150 quid is like having 1,000 quid to these players in Africa.
Yeah.
But they want take, but they're not willing to give it back. And that's the frustrating thing for me as a coach, both as a football fan and as a coach in this country.
Yeah, Johnny, bring you in now. I know, obviously, Martin was playing when you first started supporting Reading. You remember Steve Death, Robin Friday, and it was black and white TV back in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah, black and white hair as well those days, I think.
Yeah. So, bring you in now.
I was going to say, Martin, obviously, you see Reading struggling over the last few weeks. You've been in a Reading team that's been on a momentum of winning and losing. What's that like as a player? How does it affect your, anything, mentality wise? Even back those days, everyone talks about it now. But when you're on a run, or good or bad, as players, can you tell me how it feels when you're?
If I knew the answer to that one, I think I'd make £1 million a minute. I don't know. Even now, looking back, and obviously we had the run when we never got beat for X amount of games, and we had.
Did you think about it at the time, or was it just game by game or match?
I think people are different. The biggest problem you've got. In our day, you had 16, 17 players. Now you've got a squad of 30 or 40 or whatever it may be. Everyone is so different, and so I could answer it. I looked at it, and people would go, "Well, that's not very sensible," and then other people would go, "Yeah, I sort of did half of that, but not the other half." So so many players, so many different characters. Personally speaking, good or bad, I was just a little bit obsessed with it. If I'm truthful, I've got to win. And I've got to do everything I can to win, but obviously you couldn't win everything. I looked at the players, player I was going to play against, whoever it was, and I don't think, and I was very, very lucky to play against some great players, and there was not one of them that I ever feared, not one. But obviously they were better than I was. But if you're going to go into the attitude, well, I think he might get 3 past me today, I was not bothered to go on there. So and that was good or bad. But when we went through periods of 3, 4, 5 defeats, I don't think that alters it. It didn't alter me. It was just that maybe I wasn't on song. Obviously, all the team were on song for those few weeks. And you get afterwards when you walk in, and you're down for a few hours because you've got beat again and again. But maybe that's just me.
Did you see it in other players, Martin, when you played with them, that they changed because of the lack of confidence or the?
Oh yes, yeah. You had good players, the Bevs of this world, and people who had skill, Chalky White, and the lads with good skill, good touches, and silky skills, just didn't seem to be flowing. I was probably lucky in a way that I didn't have all that, so I just destroyed. I basically stopped other players playing. So the better they were, the more difficult my job was. So looking at it logically. But and goal scorers again. Your Ollie Kearns, your Trevors, talking about Dino. No, he's not here, but those sort of players who had great skills at putting the ball in the back of the net. You could see it draining from them at times. You could see it in training. They wouldn't shoot. You'd have looked and gone, he'd have put that in last week or week before. So he suddenly passed it, and you go, well, why did you pass it? But if you ask them that question, they probably couldn't give you an answer of why they passed it. They really couldn't. You know what I mean? When you watch it, you talk about Haaland, that's a Man City guy, and then Rashford again. Look at the difference for Rashford now from 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And every time you look at it now, you think he's going to score, he's going to score, he's going to shoot. But 12 months ago, it was like you didn't even have that feeling, did you?
Yeah.
So that's the feeling he must have. He must think now, I'll just shoot because he's going to go in, sort of thing. So yeah, everybody was different. Everybody obviously position wise was different as well. So yeah, it's a very difficult question to. But that was my personal thing. I didn't fear it. I never feared anybody. Always felt the same about we're going to win, we're going to win. But obviously we didn't. And that it's very. What more I can get into that, I don't know. It's just
And from the managers that you played under, how did that same thing? I guess same question, but how was their approaches with the team when you win or lose, or were they different in how they went about things?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, slightly different. I always remember somebody saying to me once upon a time, who motivates the motivator, and it's a great saying because I always remember when I was at Charlton, Andy Nelson and I can't think of the first team coach now, but it would be the bleak of winter. It would be freezing cold outside, and he would come in the mornings. And the more I talk about it, it'll come back to me. But he used to throw the windows open and scream at everybody, "What a beautiful day!" You could see the hail coming down through the window. But that was the that was his job, because if he came in miserable because it was wet and cold, what are we going to be like? So managers are the same, aren't they? Who motivates the motivator? They've got to come in whether we've just lost 3 games, and they've got to be, we're going to win today, we're going to do this, you've got to do this better. So it's a fascinating thing. But yeah, and some did it in different ways. Some did it as a group. Some people did it individually, spoke to people during the week, and that sort of things. But you've got to know, that's where good managers know their players, and there's not one cure for everybody.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite manager? Sorry, Mark. Sorry, just ask this one. Who's your favourite manager, Martin?
I think I've got to go back into the really difficult. I mean, Morris was fantastic. Morris Evans, when somebody signs you and gives you the opportunity of a lifetime, then yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. But obviously, I had great times under Branny in Brantford, and so I'll always be thankful for that. But yeah, I mean, the guys of today, wouldn't it be great now to be under Pep? What would you learn to be under Pep? I mean, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
Pep at Elm Park. There's a thought, isn't
there? Well, I just want to ask you.
He'd be in somebody's back garden there if he's at Elm Park.
Yeah, you and the rest. You just want to say, Martin, we're slightly losing you off the bottom of the screen a little bit. Could you? That's it. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So just picking up on what Johnny said earlier, that Simod Cup season, Reading win a trophy at Wembley. What a fantastic memory for Reading fans. But I think I'm right to say you got relegated, didn't you? So how do you go from, okay, it's a Simod Cup, other teams might not be taking it so seriously, but you had a bit of both that season, didn't you? You had, that fantastic spirit and belief in the Simod Cup, got to the final, some great games along the way, win the final. One of my favourite memories, and the same for many other Reading fans, with our time of supporting Reading. But then it just doesn't happen on the pitch in the league games. How do you kind of put that into terms?
Again, it doesn't make sense, does it? If you actually talk about it logically, it doesn't actually make sense. You've got the only thing you could say looking back was the fact that there were certain people who could not play or could play in the league games, but could not play then in the Simod Cup for whatever reasons. And I'm not blaming them and saying, well, we could have done with them one week and not the next. But there's no logic in that. But a cup game, cup game on a dark Tuesday night or a Wednesday night at Elm Park with the lights on is totally different to a Saturday afternoon when the sun's shining at Doncaster or wherever. And it shouldn't be, but it is. There is no, and again, like we played Coventry, didn't we? We played Notts Forest, big teams, or you're away at Scunthorpe. it shouldn't be different, but obviously mentally it is different.
Yeah, and just talking to you about two of those famous seasons, you know, the run of clean sheets you had, Steve Death in goal, and then obviously you were part of the record-breaking Royals, 13 wins at the start of the season. How much of, and I'm talking about both of those seasons, how much of that was down to the individual players? How much of it was down to managers, to team spirit, to confidence, you know, and how much luck was involved? Because a lot of those games, for example, in the record-breaking Royals season, you went up as champions, fantastic season. But a lot of those games, you won by 1 goal. So what's the balance between, you know, having a little bit of luck along the way as well?
Yeah, good centre-half, I think, if you won 1-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, Woody was quite good. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and it was a balance. And on the run, like you said, we went on that run, which was incredible. And there were games quite a few games we won 1-0 and possibly deserved to lose them. But luck was the other word you used. Again, is massive in football, and well, probably massive in life, I should imagine, but definitely in football. I mean, I don't know whether you watched the game last night, the Leicester game. You know, hitting the bar, hitting the post, and you just think, when it's not your time, it's the other days they could have gone in, couldn't they? So it changes the whole game. So yeah, very, 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 very difficult to again point a finger and look what is the difference. I honestly don't know what the difference is, except maybe that just the cup games were cup games, and they were bigger sides and more adrenaline, more bigger crowds, obviously.
Yeah, I've got one more question, then I'm going to bring Dylan in. Just talking about your role as a centre back, that's almost a different position now. If you look at, you know, Man City and the way a lot of the other sides plays, they're almost like midfielders who play at the back now, aren't they? What do you see as someone who played centre back for so many years with Reading, as the big change in the way that the centre back plays these days compared to your days?
I think you've got to be different. You've got to be so different today, because what I got away with, and I wasn't a dirty player, but what I tried to get away with, or what I did get away with, I wouldn't be on the pitch for about 20 minutes now, because not because it wasn't deliberate, it wasn't nasty or anything like that, but just you cannot tackle, can you? You can't. The game is gone. You got to read the game. You got to pinch it in front. And all those sort of things. So yeah, I agree with you. A midfield player, a good midfield player now, could just drop into the back four and play, because the goalkeeper is more of a defender, centre half, than the centre half is. The only thing what lacks for me now, I think, and over the years, I don't think people know how to head a ball. I don't think there's. I mean, you can look at some great players even in the Premier League, and they don't actually attack and head the ball. What they do is just stand and push each other, and then just try and get a little nick. You know, the art. But again, if they did it like we did, it'd be a free kick every time, because the centre forward he would collapse in a heap, and the referee would be duty bound to give a free kick, because he would make it look so good. We didn't have that in our day, and that's the biggest frustration for me. I watch a lot of football, obviously, and you watch great games sometimes, but there are lots of times you think, for Christ's sake, get up! What are you doing? You can actually see it in slow-mo. And you watch it, and you think, he's trod on his toe, you know, and he's gone down. I thought he broke his leg. You know, it's just like he's trod on his toe, and that's the bit I really hate that. I don't mind a little bit of pushing and shoving, and if you get injured, you get injured. That's fine, but it's so difficult for referees and nowadays, and you know it is an absolutely impossible job, because players have made it impossible, and that's the difference for me. I don't think defenders can defend like we were allowed to defend, because you would just not be on the field for long enough, unfortunately.
Dylan, bring you back in.
No, it was just funny what he was saying. I mean, I remember the fans talking about Martin, that he was touch tackle, you know, as a centre half. You know, and the art of defending, I think it has changed. You know, as fullbacks now, you're wingers. You know, you're inverted wingers now. You're not overlapping wingers. You're inverted wingers. You know, there's the playing between the lines. There's pockets. I mean, there's so many internet, iPad coaches that never played the game, that have, you know, now think that they know the game because they can watch it on TV. And I think that the art of defending has changed. The art of defending is lost.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, the goalkeeper now is the centre back because he has to play. When a goal's conceded, it's always a beautiful goal now. It's never a mistake from a defender. The rules have changed through handball and offside, and you know, I'm old school. I loved it back in the day where football was football.
Yeah.
You know, now everything's complicated now. There's too many rules, there's too many regulations. Nobody knows what's right, what's wrong. No. You know, handball is the biggest contentious bullshit I've ever experienced, you know. Yeah. And like I say, you know, you look at the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, when, you know, the likes of Bremner and Giles, and nobody could touch Georgie Best, you know, because he was a wing wizard. But Billy Bremner and Norman Hunter and, you know, any Leeds United player would go through players that, you know, players now would never even, you know, do it what they're doing now. I said this, you stand on the toe, and it's like the crippled, you know, and then it's the sad state of affairs when they do that, and they look to get players sent off because of that. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you there, Martin.
But managers complain about it, don't they? Managers do nothing but complain about free kicks, whatever. Yeah. Penalty. We should have got a penalty. We should have got a penalty. But who? You go back 10, 20 years to when Cloughie was a manager, who people said at the time, Cloughie was never going to. He was going to cut out all his players, gathering around the referee and putting pressure on it, and they all went down. He'll never be out. He can't do that. He can't do that. And he did it. He did it because he was the manager, and he brought his players up and his team up to respect the referee, and not anybody got round him. Obviously, I don't know what he did, took wages off him or whatever he did. It worked. So don't tell me it can't work again. But there's so much money on it, on every point now, and every draw or every win, and managers are fearing for their job every 3 weeks that they'll just turn a blind eye to. Just say Vardy going down in the box, they'll just go penalty. They know damn well it wasn't a penalty. We all know it wasn't a penalty, but if it gives you a goal, then it saves you from getting. In their case now, it could be relegation. If it saves you that, you've probably got 100 million quid you just saved. So it's a massive change in the game, but it doesn't make it right to be like that.
No, it's like we played a team from Egypt on Sunday, and the whole second half, they had the linesman. I mean, I don't know why they had the linesman on their side, but the entire bench was around the linesman and around the fourth official in every decision: throw-ins, free kicks, headers, anything that they obviously they were losing. So, and I just felt, where's the game gone now? You know, where's the discipline in football? And it seems to have gone out the window now, because, you know, players and officials just, for me, have just, you know, ignoring the fact that it's a football game. You know, it's a game that's played by two teams, and it's even. You know, and I was horrified. But that's more North African, South African mentality to how ferocious football is in Africa. And I just sometimes think, you know, the discipline in football is totally gone now.
Well, it's anything players, to win, is it?
Players get fined, and they'll just pick out 50 grand out of the car and give it to the gaffer and say, there you go, and it doesn't bother them.
No,
we got fined. I got fined 2 weeks' wages. I got fined 2 weeks' wages by Bobby Williams and Kilmarnock, because I played against Rangers at Hampden, the biggest game of my life, and I was absolutely pissed the night before. And he fined me 2 weeks' wages. I got fined 800 quid, and I was mortified. £800 was, and I had a reason. I had a reason for getting drunk that night, but we won the game 2-1. I was. It was the best game of my life. But he still fined me. He still fined me. You know.
Dylan,
and I tried to cover it up.
Dylan, was the reason that you got drunk was it because you had too much to drink?
Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit. Matt Riley, who's got a book coming out on the 4th of May, which is on Thursday. He's got a book coming out, and I've got one whole chapter. 15-year-old Balvenie versus Brian Laudrup. It's hilarious. I even forgot. I couldn't even remember. I was that drunk.
Oh, there you go. Well, Johnny, I'm going to bring you back in now.
Yeah. Now, Mark Riley was a Royal as well, wasn't he, for a while? Back in there.
He was.
Tommy
Byrne brought him down. Didn't go too well for him. Him and Jimmy McIntyre, but yeah, he was a Royal as well.
Yeah. Martin, I was going to say, like you were talking about, playing against these guys, like now the forwards. When you played against strikers, it was pretty much what stayed on the pitch. Like you had battles, I'm sure, with some pretty tough players. Who was the toughest one that you would have come up against, and how was it? How did you must have kicked lumps out of each other, because forwards gave as good as they did back then, didn't they?
Yeah, it was this endless, really. I mean, Billy White comes to mind as a man mounted to play against, and on the pitch, a horrible person on the pitch. Then you've got I mean, I always remember the guy at Villa, Peter Withe was a very, very difficult, and sometimes it's not the players who give you the problems who you think they're going to give you the problems. Peter Withe was unique as a centre forward in the fact that he was the only one I played against, and you'll all know because you're footballers, but like you always used to sort of go left when you really wanted to go right, so you drop your shoulder, put me off if you like, and then try and get in front of me, or vice versa, go in front to come back. Peter Withe would stand still, and it was incredible. He would actually get into the box really, really early, but then stand still when they were building up the play on the wing, and it really gave you a problem because I hadn't played against anybody who stood still. They were always trying to get in front of me or trying to get behind me, but he actually stood still because he was such a 6'3" powerhouse that he fancies his chances against anybody, really. So that was quite an interesting battle. But yeah, there were lots of individual battles. And again, we go back to the modern football now. They don't mark anybody in particular because the movement of Man City, the movement of Haaland and De Bruyne and that is incredible. Yeah. So you could have him in your sights a couple of yards away 1 minute, but then it'll be somebody totally different the next minute. So we were more of, we're defenders, you're attackers, we'll stop you, and so on and so on. So yeah,
more personal.
I think so. And you had great battles. John Fashanu, again, nasty piece of work on the pitch, probably the nicest guy off the pitch, but on the pitch was or could be quite nasty. But you can go on and go on. There were no easy games.
No. Martin, just want to ask you, firstly, I've got two questions now, and then I'll hand back to Dylan. Going back to that record-breaking Royals side, it was quite a direct style. So Ian Bramfoot's kind of method back in those days was to be direct, but with a purpose. So it's very effective. And then you had that whole thing about when you scored a goal, a player would, go down, as if he was injured, to stop the other team getting some momentum, and you're vulnerable when you've just scored a goal, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You probably are never going to see that style of football again, are you?
Oh no. That's. I mean, I do a lot of children's football now for 9s to 16s. I working for the Premier League, and I do a lot of those sort of football tournaments at weekends. And even we've just done the tournament, under 13s tournament at Leicester, which is a great tournament. You had your Man City's, Chelsea's, Arsenal's, but you also had Coventry and Sheffield United there. And the difference, you would say straight away, the difference is going to be, well, they'll play proper football, if you like to call it that, and the others will play a bit long ball. No, No, they're all playing the same way now. They're all getting the keeper on the edge of the box. Keeper's got to be good with his feet. Some are better at it than others, obviously, but that's the way the game is now. And yeah, the days when we were, playing the long ball system, like you said, to a good system that worked at the time, and we made it work. And you had to buy players in your squad who were willing to make it work. And if you didn't, if your recruitment wasn't right, and you had a player coming in who didn't want to do that, it made a big difference. So we had Mad Max, didn't we? Kevin Bremner, who'd run through a brick wall and then run through it again. So incredible player, because he knew exactly what we knew what to do with it. He knew where it was going, and so on and so on. But yeah, you can put systems in place. Obviously, Man City do put systems in place, but they're not that. But they are an incredible system and the way they play the game.
Occasionally it's direct, isn't it, from Edison, but not in the same way, obviously, as the record-breaking Royals back then. Johnny asked you about sort of toughest players you played against. Just want to ask you about who you think were Reading's best players during your time at Reading, and also, what would you pick out as your own personal favourite games that you played in for Reading?
Oh, best player, I mean, the best goalkeeper all the time I was there was Deathy. Steve Death was incredible. I know it's a long time ago now, but yeah, naturally gifted. You can't say anything different to that. He didn't train well. He didn't particularly practice anything in particular. I don't think he actually handled the ball probably most of the week. And then on a Saturday, there were shots people took me on, or edge of the box stuff, and somebody hits a 30-yard scorcher, and you just got that feeling it's going to go in the top corner, and you turn slightly and watch it, and you just think, oh God. And then all of a sudden Deathy comes across and one-handed flicks it over, and you just think, how did he get to that? Like, he was absolutely just an absolute natural. Games wise, obviously, I'm going to pick the Stomach Cup for the favourite of the favourite. But even early on, when I first started, I remember playing against Derek Dugan and John Ritson, who played for Wolves, and we played them at Elm Park, 26,500 there. And I think I was 6 months into my term at Reading. I mean, this is a lad who come out of a village, never been anywhere, and then all of a sudden 6 months later playing in a game of that was just fantastic. That's one game I remember. The big game, was it the Plymouth game, the 4-3, when we those sort of games. Always remember Jukes' penalty in the semi-final to get through to the, and I was thinking, who the hell was going to let him take it? And in the end, I couldn't believe it when we picked 5, and he was the last one. And I'm thinking, I looked around, I thought, it's too late. I can't stop it. It's too late. And it kicked the inside of the post, didn't it? It went in, and it was just great, fantastic. But yeah, some great games, and so many. And as you say, I think as I said, I've repeated it on this program before, or the last time I was interviewed. I said I went down to a Reading game last year, got out of the car, and you just think, you just do not think that anybody would. Well, why would when you're looking 30 years ago or whatever, why would people want to be bothered about it? But it's unbelievable that the amount of people who remember that game. And I had a couple of old gentlemen, they must have been in their 80s, who saw me and come wandering across, and they just thanked me for the best day of their life. And when you actually think of that, obviously it was the best day of my life, but I've got to think, well, I was so lucky to actually give something to 63,000 people. And so, yeah, you've got to be thankful in life. And I've enjoyed every minute of what I've done, and continue to carry on enjoying life.
Yeah, Dylan, bring you back in now.
What was Chelsea like as a young player? And
Quick.
why did he not, with his pace and his and his ability, why did he stay at Reading for so long? What was he like as a youngster? I love playing with him.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mystery, really. Why not? Why didn't somebody come in? What? Maybe I don't know. Did they see just a little chink in the armor that wasn't quite right? I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. I mean, I remember him coming and training with us, and quick wasn't the word. I mean, we used to do Friday morning sprints, and he, unfortunately, whoever put it together put me with him, which was ridiculous. And on the word go, I might as well have stood still, because it was just like unbelievable. I think they did it to boost his confidence. Really, that was the thing. That the idea was. But yeah, his pace and ability was unbelievable, really, and particularly at that time, because there was a lot of quick people about. But we had Keith Curl at the club at that time, who was very, very quick. And yet those two over 30 yards, there's only one winner there. And you wouldn't have put your money on Gilsey too early on. We'd have gone Keith Curl. And then Gilsey's come along and three yards in it, over 30 yards, which is incredible. But yeah, very, very quick.
No, we spoke earlier to Ozzy, to Simon Osborne, and we had this. Did you have a connection with certain players? We spoke about me and Gilsey, Ozzy and Parky, Mickey Gooding and Scotty Taylor when he played right back, Quinny and Archie. We had this kind of like, we were in sync with each other in the areas of the pitch that needed to be. Did you have that kind of sync with anybody at your fellow centre back, your midfielders? How was it with the team?
Yeah, very much like that. I mean, Stevie Rich was incredible. Stevie Rich was, we obviously like the old-fashioned line, if you like to call it, a back four line, and we used to play offside and whatnot. And you've got to be in somebody's head to play that. You've got to be in the same wavelength. I can't just step up when the forward makes a run and just go, oh, I hope everybody else is coming up, because it's not going to work. But I don't think over the years, Stevie Rich was on. He read me so well. He knew exactly when I was going to do it and when I wasn't going to do it. And how he did that, I don't know. He was absolutely incredible. Chalky was a great lad. Chalky was a great talent, but we both signed on the same day, so we had a little bit of a little history there, that we both signed on exactly the same day. We didn't know at the time, because probably one in the afternoon, one in the evening, I don't know. But look, going back over time, and Chalky could have played anywhere. I mean, he could have played left wing comfortably. He could have played left midfield. He probably could have played centre forward. He had one of those players who was naturally gifted again, but mostly defensively. I mean, myself and Curly, Keith Curl, Woody, played with Woody, big Steve Hetsky. You always get a partner, and you got to be in sync with each other. So I think me and Woody were as good as any two, I think.
And who was your best friend at Reading, on and off the field?
Woody, and still is, yeah. We got an old boys WhatsApp group. There's about 7 or 8 of us in it, and we are still so. Steve Hetsky, myself, Woody, Sanch, Wayne Wanklin, Chalky, those sort of people. If there's anything at Reading goes on and they invite you back to whatever celebration, you'll always find the core. Those 5 or 6, 7 people are the core who will always make the effort to go back and have a good day and a drink for old times. Yeah, and we've been to each other's sort of like garden parties or whatever it may be, and birthdays and that, and the laughter and the fun for hours is just incredible. I'm sure you have it, Dylan.
I wonder how many present Reading players would be in a group in the next 30 years.
not a cat in ours, Jess.
It won't be WhatsApp, will it? It'll be something else by then. But anyway, Martin, I just wanted
the millionaire's pot. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you, obviously, going back to your time before the proposed merger that Robert Maxwell planned in 1983, 40 years ago now. Can you believe how long ago that was? There's been so many changes at Reading since your time at the club. Reading nearly went out of existence in 1983. Obviously, the merger was blocked, and then Roger Smee came in as chairman, and then Sir John Medeski took it to a different level, and it's kind of gone a bit wrong since then, and we're on the brink of relegation to League One now. What do you feel about Reading FC as a former player and all the changes that have happened since your time.
Oh yeah, I mean that's again is incredible amount of years for number one. I mean it's the merger we spoke about last week on the radio. Actually, somebody phoned me. I did an interview about the Oxford nearly merger, and you say like 40 years. It's just it's incredible. It's incredible. But yeah, all the times all over the years, different chairmen, different times. Sir John, who's done so well. Obviously, the people I don't know them now, but you know, I'm sure it'll come back again and do well again. But yeah, my feelings for the place are obviously incredible. I mean, it was something I wanted to do in life, and I don't think, as I said, probably said many times, there's not many people in life anywhere you meet are actually doing what they really would like to do. And I did what I wanted to do, and I'm just forever grateful for that. Reading gave me that chance, and as I say, history was made, and I'm very lucky to be a tiny part of it.
Well, I'd disagree with that. I think a very big part of Reading's history, all those appearances, and you know, some very happy times. Certainly for me as a Reading fan, many other fans as well. But of course, eventually you did leave Reading. You went to Birmingham. You went back to sort of near to where you grew up. How did you come to that decision? You were at Reading for so long, and then you decide to go to Birmingham. How did that come about?
Well, it wasn't again different times. It wasn't a decision that I made. It was the truth of the matter was they offered me a new contract at Reading. It was the time when I think the new manager came in, and there was a contract on the table for only for a year, which is my age then, 33. It would be a year at a time. I was thinking about the new offer. Still in the process of thinking about it. The new manager come in, and then that offer was taken away. Now that was the truth of the matter. I mean, it's a long time ago now, so it doesn't really matter whether people believe it or not. But that was the truth. So I was actually not going to continue at Reading anyway, because there was no contract on the table. So it was I was a free agent because of the rules in those days. Again, after you'd done so many years, you were free to leave. And I was lucky because, again, I could have gone anywhere, couldn't I? I mean, I wanted we as a family by then, married with kids, we wanted to go back to the Midlands-ish, somewhere nearer home, if you like. But I could, you know, if Doncaster come in, it was the only club, or Sheffield Wednesday come in and they were the only club, then I'd have been off there. So very lucky that Birmingham come in, and I just really couldn't believe my luck. And I went on tour to Ireland with them. It was interesting. Went on tour, didn't sign a contract. Went on tour to Ireland just to see how fit I was, have a look at each other really. And then we came back from Ireland, and then I signed a 2-year contract. And to be honest, it was a new lease of life for me. It was. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have been happy to stay at Reading. I would have been another 2 years. I felt as I could play. I could still play. But when I went to Birmingham, it was a completely new lease of life. It really was. It was a different atmosphere, different players for the start, different training sessions, everything was different. So it was just like walking into a new experience, and I was like a kid in a sweet shop, really. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm going to. I know Dylan's having a few connection issues, but I'm going to try and bring him back in a second. But before I do that, obviously you left Reading, you went to Birmingham, and then you liked the Reading area so much that you came back down. And I think you became player manager of Newbury Town, didn't you, for a while?
Yeah. When I left Birmingham, I had a choice. I could have gone to Shrewsbury Town for my final sort of 1-year contract, if you like, but there was issues there that didn't sort of meet my criteria, if you like. And then I got the offer, and again, Morris was involved in that. Morris knew chairman at Newbury Town, and so Morris had pointed that out, got that working and got that going. And I'd done my badge by then. I'd done my full badge, and I just fancied a bit of a change. Still player manager. So and we were good. We were successful. Brought a few of the old players in, and yeah, we had a great time for probably 3 years, nearly 3 years, I think it was. Had a very good going. Everything was going well, going in the right direction. We got promotion a couple of times, and we were on track again. And then, unfortunately, things outside of our control, was the owner went bankrupt. So one night, one day you got a job, the next day you hadn't.
And you'd had a taste of management. Did you ever kind of consider the possibility that you'd like to become Reading manager at some point?
No, not really. No, if I'm truthfully honest, I don't think I had 3 years at it, and I think it wasn't for me. Is probably the easiest way to put it. I don't think I'd passed the stage. I was, as I said before, as a player, I was a little bit obsessed over the, passionate. All the words I'm trying to think, not to try and be clever about it, but just that's the way I was. I couldn't help but be 150% of everything I did. And I got to the point now I'm married with 3 small children, and I passed the stage in life of wanted to be away 96 hours of the week. I really had passed that stage. I wanted to be at home with the children, see them grow up, and we were very lucky because as players we were at home in the afternoon quite often. So I'd gone through that experience of watching my kids picking them up from school and etc. and it became a routine which they liked and I liked, and I didn't see myself put myself out for the amount of hours they worked for the very little they actually got back. I mean, it might be different today. I'm sure Pep's on a little bit more than was on offer for me, but you've got to put everything in perspective. And I didn't get the feel. I didn't get the same feeling as a player. It didn't do it for me, and it doesn't, does it, for some people?
Yeah, and Dylan, I know you've got a few connection issues there, and there's a big storm, I think. Are you still with us? Can you hear us? Oh, he's gone. We've lost him. I know. I got a message from Dylan. You might have heard a bit of background noise. There's an electrical storm where Dylan is in South Africa, so I think we've just lost him.
Okay.
So no, I just want to finish off by saying thank you ever so much, Martin. Been an absolute pleasure to have you back on the podcast talking about the current Reading side and your memories, and whether you think so or not, you are absolutely a Reading legend, and all those appearances and that success during that time as well. So thanks ever so much for that. And just a reminder that on tomorrow's episode, our guest will be another Reading legend, Trevor Senior.